All right, Elise. So I put my energy in these cards. You put the energy in these cards. And now we're ready for some tarot. So
Awesome.
do you have any questions for
I've got so many.
for our deck?
Will learning how to play golf help me find a husband? And that's not me being funny. It's a legit concern. My cousin thinks if I play golf, I'll find a man. So.
Oh. All right. Okay. So what I always feel is if the card is upright, and we're looking at from your direction, so I'm reading these upside down because we're reading you, okay? So our first card came right side up, and right side up to me means yes.
Okay.
So, and with the One of Wands, that's pretty much telling you like there's a good possibility that if you start this endeavor by learning golf, that it could possibly lead to your husband. However, you're going to have to make some concessions if the man that you meet is going to actually be your husband. You'll definitely meet a man through golf.
Okay. It kind of looks like a golf club too.
Is he going to be your husband? You might have to, make some concessions, take some things, away from him or you, some sort of life changes. So definitely a possibility, but not,
Yeah, I mean, my cousin, she's really like, learn how to play golf. She's really like, and her husband too. They're both like, just learn how to play golf and you'll meet a man.
Well, you'll definitely meet a man.
Hey, changing my last name or creating a stage name, would that be better for my career than just keeping it Elise Golgowski?
Ooh, interesting. Very interesting. There's more, though. It's telling me that there's more.
Okay.
Look at that. We got the same card twice. That is really interesting.
I'm going to be the Polish lightning on the green. I get my golf
Ooh,
swing.
Interesting. All right.
Oh, my God.
Okay, so first and foremost, you are focusing on the negatives a little bit too much when it comes to your brand and your name and your career. You're really focusing on what is wrong with these things. Instead, you should be focusing on what you already have. So you already have a good brand. You already have a funny handle, funny names, all that stuff. So you should probably be thankful for the name that you have and kind of give it some more love. Once you start doing that, once you start giving yourself and your brand a little bit more self-love, you're definitely going to see some doors opening for you and some new things kind of starting, both creatively and physically as well, physical career stuff. So actually going and doing and starting new things. So more ideas will come to you, and then you'll be able to go put action to those ideas. Once you start, appreciating your namesake, appreciating what you have already before you.
I usually appreciate it, but then I do podcasts when the host can't say my last name, and it makes me question things.
Oops. Well,
it's all good. No, the first agent I ever had in LA, she told me to change my last name. Yeah, and I dropped her.
Well, I think that was a good stay. So keep loving that. Keep looking at the positives. Yeah.
Am I going to enter into a new relationship before the year ends?
It was I have something to say. Oh, here we go. All right. So this one, it has a lot to say.
Oh, crap. Oh, no.
So that upside down is actually good.
Oh, okay,
so
good.
you're good. So first and foremost, when it comes to love, you're not letting yourself shine enough. So you're dulling your light when it comes to first dates, new connections and stuff. You're dulling your light. You're not letting yourself shine.
Have you seen what's out there? It's trash.
I know, it is trash. But the more you let yourself shine and don't dull your light, the more you're going to find. You are kind of you know, feeling a little bit nostalgic, maybe thinking about what could have been or what should have been or what might be, kind of living in the future a little bit and not focusing on the present. Okay. Once you start focusing on the present, get out of that future mindset, you're going to be able to let go of a lot of trauma that you have relationship-wise, a lot of relationship trauma. Once you do that and you kind of let that go, you also kind of want to let go of like past kind of like familial ways of looking at relationships. So when you think back to like how you grew up and like, you know, your childhood and how you viewed relationships in your childhood, you're going to kind of have to let that go as well to move into finding the king to your queen.
Okay. Yeah. That's a queen?
Yeah. So you have to find the king to your queen. Now, this is the Emperor card. So you are really going to have to like, you're going to find like a very strong leadership role oriented man.
Superman with a lobotomy.
Superman with a lobotomy to match your Empress, queen, stateliness of your own self, because you carry yourself like a queen and you deserve your king.
Girl, I know.
And that's what the cards are saying.
Awesome.
Okay, Elise.
Yes.
We're about to go over some steamy astrology from your chart. Now, your big three are Sun in Leo, Moon in Virgo, and Libra rising. But we're going to dig a little bit deeper than that today. All right? And I'm going to start with your Libra rising, okay? Because the rising sign is the most important part of your astrology chart. Don't let capitalism fool you into thinking it's your sun sign, because it's not. All right. Now you're a Libra rising. Some celebs with the same rising sign as you are Jennifer Aniston, Doja Cat, Britney Spears, and Beyonce.
Oh my God, all right.
Now, Libra rising is very much like gentle, balanced, flirtatious. You're very polite in nature when you come off, like your first time. You're very harmonious, fair. Think scales, you know, that's the Libra's like that's Libra's symbol is the scales, and you really are constantly balancing the scales throughout your entire life, especially in first meetings and with acquaintances. You probably like shopping, and if you don't, you should try to fall in love with that with yourself, because it will bring you joy into your everyday life. In relationships, you move things through them quickly, and you're usually easily bored. Is that kind of on point there a little bit? Yeah. So you're feature-wise, and you're known for very symmetrical features. And I won't say that Libra risings are always symmetrical, but they feel very even and equal, like the balancing scale. Now, something interesting and very exciting about your chart is you also have your Lilith in your first house. Now, Lilith is an asteroid that's always in the sky over the Earth. It just does its little wee around the Earth, and it kind of shows us our darker, more secretive sexual side. So we're going to get a little bit of that. Now, because your Lilith is in Libra, it's more about your houses, but we'll just give a little review on your Libra. You gain empowerment through independence and exercise. Does exercise make you feel like a badass bitch?
It does.
Yeah. So definitely keep doing that. And when you display your intelligence, so like when you show your smarts, like you feel hot. Yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah, your brain is pretty hot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got a hot brain. However, when it comes to intimacy, you might be a little bit more detached, kind of more, let's say, like, you know, a lawyer to there. You're very much like, this is what we're doing, and we're going to do it well. And then we're going to not deal with that emotional stuff.
Yeah, or feet stuff.
Yeah, or feet stuff. Yeah. We don't do that. So now the important placement of Lilith is that it's in your first house. Some celebrities that have this are Marilyn Monroe.
Oh my God.
Megan Thee Stallion, Billie Eilish, and Jennifer Lawrence. So think about that. All these women are very much not sexualized, but it's definitely a large part of their image, and they can use it in a way to get further in their career or the community that they're in. It's like the sort of energy that's like potent and very like dark feminine energy. If you really delve into your feminine energy, you're really going to find these like hidden primal desires. So if you like spend some time being that badass bitch and really spending some time self-loving that darker part of you, you're gonna bring out some interesting stuff. You have a lot of power when you walk into a room. So people notice that energy about you right away because it's in your first house. It definitely gives you more of a dominant energy. So, you know, do you like to take control?
I do.
Yeah, I had a feeling. You tend to see sex as a challenge, or at least sensual things as a challenge, or dating as a challenge, like something that you want to win at. But when it comes to normal everyday life, you try to keep to yourself. So if you're in a sensual, intimate setting, you're definitely more dominant and like extroverted. But when you're just kind of like walking down the street, you kind of you're able to shut that off and kind of keep to yourself. When I say that men are intimidated by you, I mean they're intimidated by you. You might get told that you're playing a man's game a lot, and you might want to be involved in a more man's career, or what people think that only men should do, hence comedy, because apparently we aren't funny, right? You're kind of seen as either the one night stand or the wife. And there's really no in between, unfortunately, when it comes to this placement. Everyone wants a piece of you, but it's how much of that do they want? Yeah? Does that make sense? Like, you basically could get any man for a night that you wanted if you put on that energy. Think like Cassie from Euphoria, very much like, I'm a woman, but if you want to handle me on a daily basis, it might be a little more difficult for you. Commonly, you take a lot of time to dive deep into relationships. And not only does this placement cause that, your Mars and your Venus placements do too. So your Mars and your Venus are both in Virgo, and they're both in your 12th house, which is the final house and kind of like the house of your like secret life, like the house of like your dreams, your dark thoughts, your more alone time self. So having your Mars and your Venus in there, it kind of has put relationships on the back burner, if that makes sense. With Mars in your 12th house, you have like a kind of mystical allure when it comes to sex as well, and adding that into your Lilith and how powerful that is, you could definitely make a man think that like you're some sort of like elven witch in the bedroom, if that makes sense. With Mars being in Virgo, it's true.
One cock ring to rule them all.
Yeah, exactly. Like you are Galadriel, okay?
Cool,
like
cool.
you in that scene that, you know, you're like, yeah, right. With Mars in Virgo, you're very obvious and straightforward, cut to the chase, clinical when it comes to, you know, when you're dealing with a guy. Yeah. And something positive about this is after you've, you know, been with someone a few times, you really know what they want. You're there to learn what they are desiring, what you can be for them. So the first few times might be like a little awkward, a little unsure, but by that third, fourth time, you've got them down to a science. You definitely might seem more innocent and clean to people who you aren't turning on that Lilith energy on towards, especially people who aren't in like the comic scene with you, or someone just you're walking down the street. Someone might look at you and say like, oh, she's a nice girl, like she's a good girl, like she's very innocent. But behind closed doors, no, no, no. Are you okay if I throw out some kinks that you might be interested in? All right.
Let's hear it.
Okay.
I'm excited
So
to know
some
this.
kinks that might, you know, do your dandy is teacher-student kink. You know, there with your ruler, you know, hitting some knuckles, maybe giving him some instruction on.
Giving him a wedgie.
Yeah, exactly. Giving him a wedgie. Nurse, doctor, patient as well. Kind of that, you know, like with your Virgo Mars also, sex is probably more of like a private thing and you're very selective about it. Yes?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. Maybe not when you're intoxicated, but let's say sober. Yeah. Like sober, you're pretty darn picky. Something that I've also noticed when I do people who's Virgo Mars readings is that you might not always want to be dominant, but it doesn't matter. You're going to eventually take the lead in bed. Like you will eventually end up taking charge. If like the guy wants to be dominant, you're like, okay, I'll try this out. By the end of it, like you've taken control. You're very much a don't worry, babe, I got this sort of thing. Now let's move on to your Venus sign. So your Venus is also in Virgo in your 12th house. Most Venus and Virgo people are not super big on that physical aspect of love, but because you have your Mars so close and they're almost conjunct, that does kind of ease some of that tension. So though you might not be like super touchy-feely or PDA-y with somebody, you're definitely very physical and private, if that makes sense.
It does.
You express your love very differently than most people. Most Venus, which can cause some like confusion in relationships. Like sometimes they might feel like you're friend zoning them, but you're totally not. So that might be why some guys kind of pull back as well, because they don't feel like, you know, they're getting that romantic aspect from you. And you might get the ick super fast. So it might be like the simplest thing and you're like, oh, no longer sexually attracted. Is that, am I hitting some points possibly?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I can
Now,
think a lot.
let's move on from all that sex talk and talk about fashion.
Yeah.
Because that's the other important thing that we're doing here. Now, your Venus sign is super important. Your Venus sign is super duper important when it comes to what you should be wearing and your style. Okay?
Okay.
Now, since you're a Virgo Venus, your Virgos look good in light, earthy tones, more pastels. You kind of you want to try to go for like a soft, elegant style when it goes to like going out, and like a very much a clean girl aesthetic when it comes to your everyday life. So honestly, what you're wearing right now, those light colors, collared shirts, think old money, but like old money aesthetic, but like pastels and more like light beigey undertones. You definitely want to stay away from black. So next time you're on stage, don't wear black.
Okay.
Just wear those like lighter pastel-y tones.
Okay.
That's what you're gonna look good in. That's what you're gonna pop in with your Virgo Venus.
Great.
That's really all I have for you today with Spicy Astrology. But if you want more information, let me know and I'll go a little bit deeper into your chart.
Great. Sounds good.
Awesome.